Ladies and gentlemen, far and near, wherever you are tonight, we'd like to welcome you to our 174th edition of our broadcast here in the Issues Room, the social media platform emanating out of Liberia to discuss the things that matter to our country, to the continent of Africa, and the diaspora containing black people. We'd like to welcome you wherever you are to this 174th edition. It's good to be back here this Friday, the 4th of August. August just started on Tuesday, and here we are, 4 days later. Everything is speeding up, but only Liberia remains behind. The days are speeding, the hours, the minutes, the years, but our country continue to remain behind, continue to lag. But that's why we come here to have these kinds of conversations to enlighten our people, to increase the understanding of what we can do collectively, holding our government accountable, our legislators, the judicial system, the people who we put in position of authority and trust that will maintain the peace and sanity of our country. But not only that, to catapult our country through all these delays because it's been so long. Looking at Liberia, where she is, just celebrated 176 years. This shouldn't be the first independent country. The country image, the country's look, the country's infrastructure, the country's economy, the country's governing system, the lack of rule of law, and all these things. And when we come here to have this conversation, people say, "Oh, you don't like the government, you're against the government." But we continue to say it doesn't matter what government. What matters is the country and the people of Liberia. So we'd like to welcome you. I'm Volcano Shelton. Let me be joined by Moses Sandy out there in Delaware, and hopefully Alphonso will join us momentarily. But we have a great guest tonight, Moses, the Honorable Maurice Momolu Dukuly, and he'll be here with us to discuss contemporary politics in Liberia. He will also tell us what his thought about the upcoming elections and how he intends to be a part of the elections. Is he supporting anyone? Is he going to tell us? Is he going to let out the cat out of the bag? But he also going to tell us what's strengthening the country and how Okurum he is and how close in the proximity, of where our country is and what his take on things and how we can all work together for the good of our country. So again, Moses, good to see you. Welcome, 174th edition. We're back here again. Forge on you, Manny Sumo. It's going to be a good one. We have the Honorable with us tonight.
Thank you, Volcano. And we come with 87 days to national, meaning national election in Liberia, presidential and general elections in Liberia. 87 days, Volcano. You see how time flies? We were talking about years. Now we got 87 days to national elections in Liberia. And wherever you are, I want to ask you to please share the link because this evening we have with us a career journalist, a prominent, public officials who is here to share his thoughts about happenings in the country. So I'm sure for Canada, this is the show that no one wants to miss, right?
Yeah, for the most part. So again, we say thank you to all of you who are there tonight for coming through here tonight to join us. We want you to encourage, our viewership by increasing the numbers through liking us, following us, loving us, and just going ahead and share the link of the Issues Room. The Issues Room is the alternative social media platform here again that discusses the things that matter to our country and particularly the black diaspora, the African continent, and to you uh, who are concerned about what's happening in Liberia and the continent. We hope that Alfonso will join us momentarily. But anything from your end, Moses, quickly before we bring the honorable in, any quick trending news that caught your eye? Just another 1 minute, 2 minute.
Mhm. Yeah, the most important story of the day is that tomorrow. Political campaign, will officially kick off August the 5th. So for the next, I think 1 month or 2 months or so, we'll see people, getting at it, making their case, either to retain or make a change. Some of the senators may not come back. Some of the representatives may not come back. We may have some new one coming back. Some may. So that is something that we've been looking forward to. I think that's the big story of the day for Canada. Yeah.
Are there any specifics around the campaign, how it starts, what to expect, what to what to what governs the campaign process, any guidelines set forth or
Of
put up
course,
by
yeah.
the
Yeah,
National Elections Commission?
there are guidelines. I'm sure the NEC will make a formal pronouncement, kicking it off. There are guidelines that will govern the process. I strongly believe that the NEC has put in place laws that will prevent, political violence. The NEC has put in place, guidelines that will ensure that the process is peaceful and that Liberians will have the opportunity to campaign and support whatever that they feel comfortable with, whatever idea, whatever philosophy someone brings to the table. Liberians will have that right. It is their constitutional right to decide who they associate with, who they support, and who they don't. Because anyone attempting to stop someone or stop them from doing that, that would be a serious violation of the Constitution of Liberia. Thank
And
you.
interestingly, I'm hoping that they put security in place because, again, for many things in Liberia, the security almost like laid back, and the first and fresh day, you would think that they will be alert and that they will be ready just in case if anything go contrary to what is expected of credible campaign, that they're able to quench whatever that would be, whether fire, whether violence, whether noise, whatever it is. So it's my hope and it's my thought that security is a partner at this time with the Elections Commission and the people of Liberia.
I definitely agree. I think national security should be priority number one because you don't want people who support Moses Sandy meeting in Tumpo Village, and while Moses Sandy is having his campaign going, and then another group of people come and say, "Hey, yeah, we support Volcano, so you guys need to back off." When stuff like that happen, obviously you will see chaos. So we hope that our national security will be giving a priority in this process to ensure that the campaign process is governed, regulated, to prevent any form of election violence.
Thank you, Moses. So
Mhm.
let's go back now and bring our honorable guest here tonight, Honorable Maurice Momolu Dukuly, one-time Minister of Post and Telecommunications, also one-time Minister of State for Presidential Affairs. He's held other, positions in the country. He's been a part of nation building. Currently, here in the U.S., uh, it's good to see you, Honorable. I know that you were just saying sometimes when we leave the scene, the people tend to forget us. But good to see you, and we hope that you can just do a small summary of who Maurice Dukuly is, just for our audience before we even kick off anything. So just tell the world who is Mr. Maurice Dukuly.
Well, thank you very much, Moses and Volcano. It's difficult for me to sort of talk about who I am. My lifestyle is one of simplicity. You've gone basically over some of the things I've done in life. All I can say is I've been blessed and privileged by God to serve my country. Uh, in two of the positions you've named, and then the final position I held was as Minister of Internal Affairs of Liberia. Uh, but I'm just proud to be a Liberian.
Thank you.
And if we can, I think, Mr. Dugley, you need to let it out that you are indeed a career journalist.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've been affiliated with journalism from 1968 when I entered St. Patrick's High School. I was taken to the newspaper club, and up to my graduation was co deputy editor and editor in chief, and then at the same time, my final year in high school was recruited by Kesseley, and that's how I joined public service. I always wanted to be an agriculturist, but one day I got invited to information, and I was offered a job as a cadet. That was a initial step towards training in Liberia. Most of the older journalists, we had a Koba, the late Emmanuel Bouya, the late Alaji Kroma, some others. We all started at the Ministry of Information as cadets.
So that's a long time ago,
Long time
1960,
ago,
Yeah.
1970,
5 years ago.
I started in 1973.
Okay.
Good.
Okay. But good to see you here
So
tonight, and we just happy to have you in audience, and we hope that a lot of folks will join us here tonight to listen in on this conversation. Uh, you understand Liberia better than Moses and myself. Looking at this disparity in your experience compared to us, is this the Liberia that you know now today? That and is this the Liberia you envisioned at 176 years in this 21st century, this modern technological age, this age where many nations have gone far ahead? Were you ever thoughtful that this would be the Liberia, sir?
well, human nature is dynamic, so one cannot expect that a lifespan of nearly 70 years will have everyone remain where they were 50 or 70 years ago. So Liberia has changed, but there are certain fundamentals of the Liberian character that have not changed. Uh, One of those is that the ordinary Liberian is not difficult to satisfy because we are not a greedy people. Those who are greedy are those who are privileged to serve in leadership positions. The ordinary Liberian wants a roof over his head, wants, if he can afford, 3 square meals a day. But the current experience is that, not just current, but the usual experience is that you have 1 meal a day. The woman goes to the market, sells under the sun or rain all day, comes home around 6, 7, cooks, and they eat and go to sleep. And a cycle is repeated. So they can't even afford decent 1 meal because a meal is provided from the proceeds of the sale of the day. If the business was good, they might be able to eat fish. If the business was not good, they eat dry rice with palm oil and kettle or bitter bud. That's an ordinary experience. But Liberian all the one, and that is why Liberia is easier. It's not a difficult state for governance because if people want roof, they want food, they want to educate their children, and as a democracy which we profess to be, they want their security and their protection guaranteed. That is a responsibility of a democratic government to protect all the citizens, provide for their common defense, provide for their common security. When they cannot get that, when market women get killed, or auditors get killed, or even prominent citizens like the late William Altalbo III or John Hillary Tubman. These are two sons of former presidents. The auditors, you know the names. I'm not going to belabor the conversation here. They all get killed, and there's no result. Then it makes people to panic. I reflect back on 1997. I had Dukuly was my deputy, and I had met him in a supermarket. And I asked him where he was going. He said he was on his way to Nimba. A couple of days later, Dukuly was dead. That sent shockwave through the opposition, and that's how many of the opposition members left Liberia during Mr. Taylor. Fortunately, we've had similar experience, but people haven't really left as it happened in 1997.
So,
Hold on, Moses. Hold on. Hold on.
yeah,
Hold
go ahead. Okay.
Let me just bring in Alfonso. Alfonso, you just joined us, so just wanted to bring you so Moses can go ahead now and ask this question. Go ahead, Moses.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Mr. Dukuly, you have spoken to some of the critical issues. Given your experience, political experience over the year, if you were to do a comparative analysis to this Liberia and Liberia of yesterday, what's your take?
I think I'm reminded of a speech. I'm sure none of you were born who are on this screen this evening. 1997, when President Talbot chose Bishop Benedict Warner as his running mate. At the induction program, which was held at the EJ Roy, Benny delivered a speech, a powerful speech. I have tried to find a copy in recent years. I've been unable. The title of the speech, in that speech, the bishop said, "What is wrong with Liberia is us."
Hmm.
And that is the issue. When you see people are going through such conditions and they still celebrate their leaders, then you have to stop and wonder, what's wrong with these people? Someone called me today and said there's rush shortage on the market, and they were claiming that there might be gasoline shortage as well. Yet when you look at social media, everybody's celebrating. What is there to celebrate about? Uh, we have all our young people. They become Zokos and Zogis, or whatever name you want to call them. We call their names, and therefore we affirm their psychology. And they turn out to be wayward drug addicts. Now they're but hear people talk about Kush. I don't know what that is. In Montana, no drugs in Maria. You know, so the challenges are there, but they're not challenges to be solved by one administration, one president. We all need to work harder, and we just need to unify. This election will come and go. People must therefore allow peace to prevail. Only one person is going to win the presidency. And that person has a responsibility to embrace the competition or the competitors who participated.
Alfonso.
Yeah. Hi, Mr. Dukuly. My name is Alphonso. Nice to meet you. Yeah.
I,
Welcome to the Yep. Welcome to the issues room. I'm sure my colleagues have already welcomed you. Sorry, guys. I was late.
yeah,
Uh,
thank
It's
you.
understandable.
in traffic. Yeah. But I wanted to. I mean, I met you in the middle of a conversation, but I just wanted to ask you. I know Moses asking you just talk about the state of the country. Um, what is it that you think is lacking, and what it is that you believe needs to be done to a address the ills that you talk about, and b move the country forward?
There are many things that are lacking. One is that corruption i- it is eating at the fabric, and one administration isn't responsible for this. I served in the alien government. I know people who came to the government poor. By the time they left, they become millionaires. Uh, so it cuts across. And I'll tell you guys a story. In 1975, the late President Talbot was the first to establish the National Force for the Eradication of Corruption. The director of the force was, I don't know whether she's still alive, but she might be deceased, Isabel Kanga. And she did some work and submitted a report to Talbot. Talbot's challenge was he could not deal with his friends who were found to be corrupt. And that's how the National Force for Corruption died. Uh, same Odo, same with the most recent government in which I serve. I've been privileged to serve uh, in front row capacities in two administrations, and I saw how the weaknesses of the president uh, and his strength as well. So to address the first issue, you have to deal with corruption. It means you have to audit the last two administrations going back to, if you want to audit Samuel Doe, that's fine. But there has to be a beginning. Number two, you have to reduce the bloated legislature. The legislatures are drained on public resources because, and I respect them because I was in there once, but the salaries they take, the benefits they get are not commensurate with the responsibilities they carry. They work 2 or 3 days a week. Most of the time they come very late. The debates are not substantive. You live in the United States. Most of the states have professional assemblies. There's a time in the year they come and pass a budget, then they go to their individual responsibilities. They don't go 360 days a year, every day to section where the government has to get them vehicles, has to do this, has to do that. So there are so many things to try to trim the public budget. When I was Minister of State, I had suggested, but I was roundly, told to abandon it, to centralize the garage where all government vehicles will go for servicing, to standardize the vehicles. And most or all agencies, I had suggested you have one Range Rover or any kind of vehicle that is able to go out of town, to be made available to anyone and everyone who has a trip on behalf of the agency to any part of the rural areas. That was not done. So the first thing to do, and I'm speaking for myself as a private citizen, a former government official. I'm not in government. I have no association with any of the political parties. I haven't met any politician, so I'm free to talk. And I'm not saying or prejudice anyone. In fact, all the candidates, I know them. They may not all be friends at the same level. Gonglo and I are good friends. Uh, Cummings and I were in crowd 50, although I had become an absentee member of the crowd. Didn't attend regular meeting, but I know him and he knows me. Uh, Uncle Joe, I worked with as far back as the 1970s. The wife is from my county. Uh, President Weah was peace ambassador or minister of state. So in a way, and Dr. Maniba is a young man. When our minister of post and telecommunications, he and his brother lived with their parents and sisters up in ELW area. I've gone there multiple times. So in a way, I'm saying basically, I know all the candidates running. So when I speak, as you will find, and I speak positive about one, it's without prejudice to the rest, because I really don't have a fish to fry. Whoever is president, as long as you lead our country properly, there's peace, there's security, we all will be there trying to nurse our old ages. But I think there has to be a beginning. That beginning is whoever government is elected, whoever government is elected must begin with an audit of the outgoing administration. If outgoing administration is successful to be re-elected, Mr. Weah must begin by auditing his government. I'm not talking about GAC. Invite international auditors, because when corruption is such that the people feel like you really tell it, you're disrespecting them. I'm doing this. What can you do? It offends people. In more radical countries, it leads to instability, and we've had enough of instability in Liberia. So the beginning is to deal with the issue of corruption, and you do so. You maybe contract an international czar, let partners pay, so that he has no friend or favor, of a favorite person. Anyone who is accused, investigated, and found to be liable must pay the price. And we must begin by confiscating ill-gotten wealth and assets.
Okay.
Okay?
So,
So I don't know whether I've
yeah,
addressed
and
your issue.
So I think,
and
yeah. So
yeah,
I think the most important thing you say is the corruption piece. And Alfonso was saying that Alfonso, you said something about you did mention what was the branding issue now that he sees and how this. So I think he addressed it.
Yeah, yeah,
Corruption. He
yeah,
talked about
yeah,
the ways
yeah,
they should be
yeah.
addressed. Or Moses
yeah,
coming.
yeah. The issue of the corruption. I just wanted to follow back. I'll piggyback on that quickly. Mr. Dukuly, you struck a very salient point that the fight against dishonesty or corruption in Liberia should begin with the Weah administration. Do you think Mr. Weah has that fortitude to really get to the corrupt in his administration? Do you think he's willing to do that? Oh,
Look, as Minister of Internal Affairs, when the former senator was peace ambassador, he and I interfaced a few times. And prior to that, I've known him for years too. When he went to Cameroon to play for Tonel, and there was some financial problem involving himself and our late ambassador, who was also my godfather, the late ambassador Carlton Capet. Uh, it was my late friend Emmanuel Buya and I who went to Do, whisper until Do sent for Ambassador Capet. And that's how that issue was, how it was resolved. I was not sitting there whether you're giving him money or what the late president did. So I've known him. As peace ambassador, I also interacted with him. The problem is not, the president cannot be the 21 cabinet ministers or the 19 public operation heads. But the president has a duty to appoint qualified and competent people. The president has a duty to monitor his officers. My only problem with President Weah is that from the time he appointed his ministers almost 6 years ago, he's not done a major cabinet reshuffle that I can recall. Maybe I didn't hear the news because I don't always listen to the radio. That's a problem. When you don't check on people, human beings are human beings. They create their own little fiefdoms in these agencies, and they establish their own little cabals, bring their friends, and there is uh, collusion cells in these agencies to cheat the people of their resources. So I wish, but that's not the president's job to monitor. The Minister of State, there's a position for Director General of the Cabinet, but the president has to ensure that they do their work. I know on Ellen, the last minister, Director General of the Cabinet was Dr. Momo Rogers from Cape Town, Moses. I
Yeah.
think you know Dr. Rogers.
Yeah.
He and I have been friends for many years from the Ministry of Information. But we had monthly report to submit to Dr. Rogers for the president. So you had to perform. And the format for that report was designed by the executive mansion. And Dr. Rogers made sure that the data expected of you were provided. So, but when you appoint, just take for example, someone posts you in a job, doesn't check on you for 6 years.
That's true.
So we begin to we own the agencies.
And
So one of
you
the
said something
problems.
yet, Honorable Dukuly, and we have had this
We have to
conversation.
buy it.
Are you hearing me quickly? I was about to say that what you said here, we've talked about
Yeah, I
this.
can hear you.
Yeah, we've talked about this. And what bothers me is that out of 5.2 million people, the president appoints a one-sided government. Almost all of the people coming from the southeastern leave the other part of the country, do not even make any reshuffle, do not reappoint anyone, and even to the point where they're refusing some of his people he appoints because they don't meet the criteria qualification whatsoever in the Senate. They still bypass because of majority and put these people there. This tells the Liberian people that this man doesn't care, and that's why you bringing this up. Where in this world that you appoint somebody to 6 years that he's the best at his job? How can the mayor be the best at his job in Monrovia when the country is filthy? How can the finance minister be the best at his job in the country when there's corruption all over the place? How can these people be the best in their jobs? How can a police director be the best in his job for 6 years when there are hundreds of unsolvable crimes? How can the justice minister be the best in his job? So yes, you are right. You're right. But I just wanted to emphasize this as you continue.
But let me qualify that now. Let me qualify that. Elections have consequences. And to the extent that I have read the Constitution, there's no requirement in the Constitution for the president to create a balanced cabinet. It was an express desire, and most presidents try to do that. Samuel Doe tried to do that. Ellen Sirleaf tried to do that. But the president decides that the counties of the Southeast have the most qualified people. That's why he ran for president. And that's why he's president. But that doesn't mean that these people cannot be properly managed. Now, if there are issues with their qualification, that's a totally different issue. But if supervision is an issue because they are not being made to do their job or to be answerable for their actions, whether executive or administrative, that's a different issue. But there's nothing in the Constitution that says the president must appoint the 21 cabinet ministers from the 15 counties. The other issues you've raised are quite in place. But as what is the most current, there's nothing in my lifetime that is more consequential than October 10.
Absolutely.
In 1997, we had the first election that transitioned us from war to peace. I know that our partners in the region determine that the guy with the biggest gun we're going to win, regardless of what the others did. And so they arranged it in a way that Mr. Selly came second, Elijah Kroma came third. Mr. Taylor won. We accepted it. This election is very consequential because our country is at a crossroads. And I just hope that NEC, and I know a lot of people at NEC, some of our old colleagues from ELBC, I hope the police will be vigilant. I hope the entire security architecture in the country will be vigilant to make sure that people cast their votes and that their votes are counted. Because anything out of short of that might lead to consequences, might have the potential for consequences that we don't want. Liberia has suffered too much to have another conflict. We need to work for peace because only one person going to win, but make sure you win fair. There will be other things like, starving others of the resources. Okay, use the resources, but money doesn't win election. Money doesn't win election because the Liberian public is not stupid. They know what experiences you have it. And so making sure that you have all the resources available the last 4-8 weeks of election doesn't give you the election because it doesn't change minds. But Liberian people are not greedy people. They will think about whether in fact they've been having rice, the gasoline, whether their children are going to school, how the drug situation, all the issues you guys talk about every day.
Mr. Dukuly, you talk about elections and the importance of the upcoming elections. Um, so, and so in terms of moving the country forward through elections and making sure that the country, that the country gets the right person in place after these elections. What's your position in these elections? Do you have a side? Are you supporting somebody or a group of people who you think will implement those things that you talk about and move the country forward?
My position is as a free citizen.
Yes.
Are you so as a free citizen who has the right to
That's the only position you can
Yeah.
as a
have.
free citizen as a free
As a
citizen
free
who has the
citizen.
right as
But
a
I
free
do
Yeah.
have
citizen yeah, who has the right to vote,
who is not
uh,
indifferent to what
who is
happens in
not
Liberia.
indifferent to exactly
Yeah.
Okay.
the situation on the ground, who is also somewhat influential.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Go
Is
ahead.
But
there
I don't
a
know whether
person
the last statement
is there is there a
is
person
Yeah.
or a
correct.
group that you support?
Yeah. As a
Yeah,
former
I'm coming
speaker.
to that. Listen,
Okay.
Yeah.
in 2005, I was here in the United States. I was head of the Midwest chapter of
Yeah.
Unity Party. I'm giving you a small history so that you know where I come from. One day I get a call from Ambula Johnson, the former Minister of Internal Affairs. He's deceased now. We all come from. In fact, where they come from to where my father is buried is less than 20 minutes drive. So we call each other, although I'm not a Johnson, we call each other cousins. So one day I get a call from Ambula, AB, we used to call him AB for short. He said, "Cause Ellen is visiting. I'd like for you to invite us." So I invited Mary Salif and her sister here, and I alone, the group that I headed, the Midwest chapter of UP. and they spent 3 or 4 days here. And when Ms. Sally was returning, we discussed. He said, Morris, I need you to come help me with the campaign. The moment she got to Liberia, she called me. What I did originally was as a classroom teacher. I was a 10-year teacher in a public high school here. The school year was about to end. When it ended, I sought my family's permission and went to Liberia. Left my 2 girls in high school. We did our campaign. I was there when Ellen selected Joseph Nyuma Boakai. We worked hard to make her win. When after election, we had transition teams. The very day transition teams ended, I got on a plane and came back to my job. And on December 26th, the day after Christmas, she called. In fact, it was my wife who answered the phone and said, Morris, I want to name you Minister of State. Unlike other cabinet ministers, because of my love for Liberia, I didn't create conditions. I went to Liberia. I wrote the inaugural address. I single-handedly wrote the inaugural address. It was the editorial part that Ellen invited a few of her friends to include her PR, the lady in charge of her PR here in the United States. We finished that, and I took over the Ministry of State. Then we had this misfortune with all electrical wires in the mansion, and I went and resigned. I found a copy of the letter of my resignation here. Of course, when she gave the public statement, she said I took responsibility. There's no record that Ellen Sally will show that I, Morris Dukuly, took responsibility. In fact, it became a point of argument between her and me. So that when in September, and I didn't leave the country because I didn't want people to think I ran away. When the report came out done by South African technical team and UN team in Liberia and all of that, it was found to be electrical short circuit. She called me and said, what do you want to do? I said, no, I started a consultancy. The late Emmanuel Bouye and I worked together. Then I reminded her what she had said. So we passed that. She asked, I used to do her speech because after the election, I took responsibility to make sure that, the campaign message was carried through governance. And so everybody in Liberia knows that I used to do her speech. And so after a while, she asked me to be a legislative consultant. I did that at the same time. It was a contractual job. I was running my communications agency and work until fast forward. I did consultancy for a number of companies. The legislative modernization plan, I wrote that. Blamo Nelson was my contact at the legislature. I'm not sure whether you've seen a copy. I wrote that. I say legislature must be reduced in size. In the counties, every legislator must have not more than 3 people. In their main offices in Monrovia, they must have not more than 14. You have one consolidated administrative staff for the legislature so that you cut down costs. The whole plan was to cut down costs. It was approved. It was published. I have a copy of the book at home in Liberia. And so move on. One day, Blamo called me. Blamo and I have been friends for many years. Blamo called me and said he wanted to see me. I went there. Blamo explained issues we were having with Mr. Salif. I went to talk to Mr. Salif. The way she sounded, I told Blamo, if I were you, I would begin to pack my stuff. Uh, it was not long after that, Blama was fired. And I think a week later, she called me and said, I beg you, come run this ministry for me. I went there and
And
did
this
my
is
duty.
internal affairs.
Internal
Are we
Yeah,
affairs,
talking?
internal
yes.
affairs.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did my duty there. We clashed over the Land Act because I'm a countryman. I'm an indigenous. I was not going to sit over there and see the country people deprived of their land. And raise issues that her own Minister of Justice raised. But as in everything, I was a victim. And how it happened, she was in the United States when the Senate invited me to go and testify. I put it off. The Senate was about to hold me in contempt. So I called. I couldn't reach her. Every time I called, she was there. She had gone over there. And so finally, I decided to go and just make a very harmless statement. I said, this issue, I didn't know she had submitted the act. How can you, as president of Liberia, you're submitting a reform law on land in your country when you know the situation on land, you don't inform your minister of interior. So I made a statement that the act should be sent in-house for us to do the revision. Uh, she was so furious. She said, I undermine her authority. She fired me. But you know, I like to be fired. So she said, I undermine her authority because I
Okay.
said it should send a law back that she sent. So I asked her a basic question. Madam President, did you inform your Minister of Internal Affairs? She got more vexed. So I left the ministry. But it took from 2015 to 2018 before that law was revised as I had suggested, before it was passed under President Weah. She didn't have the privilege of signing that law. During this same period, I come from Bomi County. I've been a leader in Bomi County. And so the cleric of Bomi County and the elders whom I had worked with came to me. They hear things outside. And so they came and said they wanted me to ask the president whether she was going to name Uncle Joe. I like to call him Uncle Joe because from Bomi, you know. I said, why? And they said, we'll not tell you, just go ask her. The first time I asked, I went to Minister Leaf, I asked her, she said, what kind of question is that? Yes, of course. So I asked her, Madam President, do I have your permission to go and inform the Vice President? She said, yes. I drove from the mansion straight to the Capitol. Lineman said my witness there. But my witness, if you know Sam Steve Quia, Sam Steve Quia had worked for me at LBS. He was the chief of staff to the Vice President. I invited him and told him the conversation. Then I went back to my office. After a while, the same group came back. They had concern because they were hearing things out there I was not hearing. So I said, okay, I'll go back there for the second time. I went back there for the second time. I asked myself, she said, but why you keep asking me? I said, well, people want to be a show. She said, yes. Again, I asked her, do I have your permission to go and inform the Vice President? She said, yes. I went back to the Capitol. I called Sam Quia. Then I told the Vice President, designate 3 of your staff to travel with me throughout the country. Our Minister of Internal Affairs always on the road. To travel with me so that I will present them to the county leadership. Whether there or not, they will have established the network. So we went to, I think, Grand Jida. He sent the first person, he said, well, the Kisibo Ninsa, a PR officer, I think something happened. So I cut short the trip. So he could, I didn't think much of it. Fast forward, one cleric, a senior cleric from Birmingham came. I said, but why you keep coming back? He said, cause I hear something, go ask. I called,
The messenger.
yeah, I called the president. He said she go out of the country, but she come back with talk. Then she came back. I called 3 times. She was in different meetings. It was not her fault. So, but then her special assistant asked me, a lady called Fasama, and said, Minister, what do you want to meet with the president for? I said, I want to discuss politics or just like that. In less than 2 hours, Sally called me, and that was her MO. She called me blasting. I hear you want to come talk to me about politics. I want to talk to you about politics. You don't come to my office. You have president needs. You come to my house. So I myself, we all got temper. So I said to her, I don't have any personal issue, but I'm present for you to help me with. So I'll not come to your house. And from that day, I've never been to her house. I've actually never spoken to her. This 2015.
Yeah.
Then 2017, I endorsed Joseph Boakai. I actually did a workshop for a campaign team. I endorsed Joe Boakai. And because I heard that Ellen was on the other side, I didn't want, having just had a run-in with her, I didn't want to have a clash. So I stayed away from that campaign.
So when you say the other side, what other side are you talking about?
I heard she was supporting, she had taken, I didn't hear it. There was a program in Banga. When I saw the video, the current vice president and the current president were with her. Okay. There is no political statement greater than that, than you are endorsing them.
Yeah.
Then everybody right away assumed that you are supporting President Weah, which is a right. Every citizen has a right to choose. I didn't have a problem with that. My only disappointment is that she did that then. Whether Joe was going to lose fairly or not, but he lost massively. So those of us who are from Bomi, so we gave you 12 years of our lives. Why are you treating Joe? Was not born in Bomi, but Joe's wife comes from Bomi, Jawaje, Katumo Boakai. She worked with me directly, a strong woman, a good Christian woman. Why are you doing this? Choose who you want to support, but all these things you read in the paper, she campaigning for coming here and there, yonder. So I myself, Bombing citizens were reaching out to me. Cause, what are you doing? We haven't heard from you. We know you're in a cyst. We don't want to be bothered, but this is time for us to stand with Bombing. And Joe is a decent man. You felt say a lot of things about Joe. I work with Joe. Joe is not ethnic, he's not clannish. Sam Steve Kuya was born in Ghana. He came to Liberia as a grown-up. Sam Steve Kuya was Joe Boakai's chief of staff for 12 years. That's somebody who is clannish. Why didn't go look for a kissing man? Okay, you hear that in the media because they don't know him. You know, when I was a young journalist like you guys, you know the cartoon thing. For me, I didn't do cartoon. I gave me something. I worked for it. So I had a friend called Carlos Smith. I don't know any of you know New Carlos.
Yeah, Carlos. Yeah.
Carlos had a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Carlos followed me when Uncle Joe was at LPMC. I had gotten a scholarship to go to school. I needed to raise money to be in my pocket. I went with a proposal to do a supplement. He didn't know me then. All he had been doing, seeing me on TV. So he said, how much? I think we charged about $10,000. I did a profile on him. We did a nice profile on PMC, all the projects. They paid for the publication. When we're done, we submitted the invoice. He gave me my money. Not somebody who is ethnic will be thinking about your name. Dukuly and Wakai don't have anything in common. This is a decent man. Joe believes in collaboration and consultation.
Is that the endorsement?
I'm coming to that.
I think he's going
Okay.
forward. Yeah.
I'm coming to that.
Yeah.
So I have determined based on the request of my people from Bomi County and based on my personal knowledge of Joe and my determination that he will do good by Liberia, I've decided I will not sit on the fence. And as I've said already, I got some friends who are candidates. Councillor Gonglo, when our Minister of State for Presidential Affairs, he and Kofi Woods did a TRC statement. I just refined it. I sent for them. They sat in my office as Minister of State and wrote a draft. So I know that Dr. Moniba's father was like a big brother. I had eaten at their house. Alex and I, in the same club, I wouldn't say with buddy, but the team around Alex, I know most of them. Louis Brown and I were in a TLA. I'm sure Moses remember that.
Yeah, when you were speaker of the Transitional Legislative Assembly.
Sugar McIntosh and I wrote the platform for UP in 2005. There's a guy there who from Minnesota. He used to be behind me. I think he gave up to join the Cummins team. But the only thing I can't join, Cummins is a wonderful person, but you can't have one person determining the leadership of Liberia. So my problem is that Minister should just give other people the opportunity to freely decide who they want as president. She must not use international connection, her political strength, leverage, and as we say in Liberia, cash violence. So I am hereby declaring my full support for Joseph Newman Boakai, who is married to my sister from Bomi County, from Javaja in Bomi County. Because I know Joe will do good by Liberia. Those of you who don't know Joe, try to know who he is. The man has lived in our house for over 40 years. You understand? Over 40 years. When in 1998, I was living in Liberia, there were 3 people on the tiller when the list came up to kill us. My name was number 4. There were only 3 people in Liberia I could trust to know. Joseph Boakai, the late Bishop Francis, and Dr. Amos Sawyer. And I went to Joe's house that night. He and his wife and the former principal of Riggs, I don't know remember his name. They were there. And I was scaring them. I said, you're scared, you can't call your truth, and that's it. He never left the house. He lived in the house throughout the war. Wow. I'm not saying he's perfect. But I'm saying no one person has a right or should assign to himself or herself the right to determine the presidents of Liberia year in and year out. Minister Leaf served for 12 years. I defended Minister Leaf. Her own peers were attacking her. I used to, when Tubman one time when she won the Nobel Peace Prize, Tubman went hard on her. I didn't even tell her I had gone to do a workshop for UN in Bapolo. I ran from there. I came back. I sat on my computer. I did a strong defense of her. You got also a new Tubman. Plus Joseph for 12 years.
Are we talking Winston Tubman?
Yes.
Okay.
Winston Tubman attacked Mrs. Saleh when she was named by the Nobel Committee. She and my younger sister, Nima Bowie from my church, St. Peter's Lutheran. And I responded to Winston Tubman. God, it was unfair. It was a moment of pride in a Liberian woman being selected, 2 Liberian women being selected by the Nobel Committee. I didn't think it was political. Why has Joe done 12 years? Miss Ellie is difficult because she gets upset. She has 2 things about her. When she look at you like she want to eat you up, the owl eye. And you dealing with Miss Ellie, they used to call her George Jala. The first person came report the person I watched that report she'll go back. But Joseph Boakai has patience. 12 years, I think Joseph Boakai used to be there. Even if he knew that the minister was right, Minister was blasting that minister, he just turned himself into a bag and walk because he didn't want conflict. What has he done? Not to deserve the opportunity. Don't go against him. Let him run fairly and lose.
So you said a lot here, but I wanted to emphasize this quickly before any of my colleague comes in. We've heard this time immemorial where Ellen says if Boakai becomes president in Liberia, hair should grow in her palm. And it's demonstrated by all of these meddling and the inner workings, like you mentioned some of them. People who she wants Cummings, she wants Opon, she wants this, she wants that. She just butting heads. It is understood again that Sarah Yanati Beslow, who got in the race, is because of Ellen's construct. What she's trying to do is to create more candidates so that the votes can spread to diminish what could happen for Boakai. Do you hear any of these things? And based on her continued meddling in the political space, a woman who is almost heading toward 85, going 90, should be quietly relaxed and leaving this country alone, but she's still in it. Is that something that Ellie is hiding? I'm coming, sir. Is that something that Ellie is hiding, that she's running from? That if Boakai becomes president, the world would know. You work there, you know. I mean, and
let
you're
me say this much.
Yeah.
I have disrespect for Ms. Salif. She became president of Liberia at the time Liberia needed her. She brought instant attention to Liberia. Her association with the global community, World Bank, being a Harvard University product, all that helped to shine light on Liberia. But Ms. Salif is not God. The presence of Liberia has been determined by God. If God said Joe Boakai would be, he would be, Ms. Salif will not grow hair in her hand. And people have made that statement. It has never happened. So I'm not. It's all right. It's all right, but the manipulation, they're trying to dilute the voting pool. She should think that there are those of us who serve her faithfully. When I arrived in Liberia in July 2005, there was no database for UP campaign. The first person I talked to was Jim Davis. He brought a guy who had left here, a guy from Bombing County called Harry Sando. He's a lawyer today. I recruited Harry Sando to build a database. I later made Harry Sando director of finance at the executive mansion. Then we're on the Broad Street. Then we moved to 3rd Street. When she used to go up and down, Joe office was down from me. Joe and I did not have no money. There were special people, I'm not going to call their name, who were on the campaign who handled money. So what did Joe do? I didn't see it. I couldn't have been vice president ministerially because we would have clashed. And even as a minister of state, we clashed a few times. Because for me, I can take so much and no more. So I can't say why she's doing this, but God knows who will be president of Liberia. I'm a Christian. I believe strongly in destiny. If Joe gonna be, Joe gonna be. Joe doesn't have money, but money does not win election. If people want to undermine Joe's chances, God has a way of removing such situations. So I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, so Mr. Dukuly?
Just do intermission quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Folks, if you just joining us, because I know a lot of folks coming in now, the number is climbing out there. We're in company with Honorable Maurice Momolu Dukuly, the former Minister of State. As he's clearly stated, he worked under Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the past president, who served the country for 12 years. He also served as Minister of Post and Telecommunications. He served as Minister of State, Minister of Internal Affairs, and he also served in the National Legislature, the Transitional Legislative Assembly. He one time served as Speaker. So this is a man who has been close to the governance structure of our country. So he's here tonight. He's just endorsed Ambassador Joseph Yuma Boyka, who is also running for president on October 10th. But we're discussing, the inner politics of Liberia, the contemporaries, and some of the things that he mentioned here that he wants to see change is the corruption and what the current president has not done with regards to, clamping down on corruption through the changes, reshuffling in his government and holding people accountable. So this conversation continues. We'll open the line shortly, but we just wanted to encourage you to join us and continue to invite others here tonight. This is the 174th edition of the Issues Room. Our broadcast is on Tuesdays and Fridays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 11 p.m. in Liberia. Volcano, Shelton, Alphonso Yenu, Moses Sandy. We say thank you all for coming tonight. Godwin, Kwangba Do Wesan, Thomas Awaji, of course. Continue to share the link. Samuel Abu, Manin Sumo, just all of you who just joined us here. Thomas Harvey, Quintel, Kanaswa, Vitus, Shelton, Ferjamoyu, Menepele, K Sumo. Thank you for coming through. Continue to invite others to join us. Moses?
Yeah. Mr. Dukuly, based on our own assessment of what is obtaining to this Liberia with regard to the election, the data shows that the election is obviously going to be between two persons. The presidential election is going to be between two persons. That would be the current president, George Manuel Weah, and the former vice president, Joseph Boakai.
Moses, slow down. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what the data shows.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's what the data shows. It's going to be, the key competitors will be the current president and Mr. Boakai. Okay, now you have endorsed Mr. Boakai. I want you to do for us a comparative analysis in terms of leadership. What makes Joseph Boakai, in terms of leadership, what makes him better as compared to George Weah? Because you said earlier that the 2023 election is critical for Liberia's stability. What makes Mr. Boakai better as compared to George Weah?
As you guys in America say, the comparison is a rabbit hole. I don't want to travel it.
Okay.
As I've said from the onset, I know all of the candidates. I may be closer to some, and not so close to others. The numbers don't lie. I also said earlier that God has chosen a leader, the president of Liberia. I'm not a prophet, but I just know that because I know that, you know, leadership can hide. You have 12 years of Joseph Boakai as vice president. You have 6 years of His Excellency Dr. George Weah as president of Liberia. Everybody can see. I don't need to do any comparison. But I know one thing I can speak to. I'm not saying no one should misconstrue me to imply that I'm saying Joe is perfect. No one is perfect. Only God is perfect. But Joe will not steal the Liberian people money. Joe has lived in one house for over 40 years on Rehab Road. During the war, you were in Liberia. Nobody had light. I went there, Joe was in darkness. They had a candle on the table, he and the principal of Rakes. And I was joking that it's the same day I was leaving. He's had one wife. They got grown children. I know both of his sons. I have not seen them showing any disrespect to anyone because their father is vice president. He's a strong Christian. And I'm not saying a good Muslim cannot be. I'm just saying a strong faith foundation is important for leadership. Because when you have strong faith, you know that everything is vanity. Materialism is vanity. You buy 50 houses or you build 50 houses, it's all vanity. You have one house with 3 rooms, you can only sleep in one. You make it 12 rooms, it's all vanity. It just show off. It's what they call conspicuous consumption. You want to show off that you know.
Yeah.
And Liberians are good for that. One flashy cars, when people can hardly afford food to eat.
That's true.
So I'm not going to make any comparison here because, as I said, President Weah is my friend. I was his Minister of Internal Affairs when you were my peace ambassador. Ambassador Boakai is my in-law. Ambassador Boakai is my in-law, married to my sister. I have deep respect for the integrity of Councillor Tiawon Gonglo. Cummings is a professional, but maybe I'm just thinking aloud. I have no data to prove this. Maybe if Cummings had not tied himself to Mr. Leaf, he would have done better. But I know I've spoken to Liberians who say, why is this woman always botting in Liberian politics? She had 12 years. Why she can't give us a chance? Let us choose and make our mistake. But she don't want to stop our comments now. I hear she got this person, that person, as you yourself just said here. But I don't lend credence to any of that. Because I know whatever Mr. Leaf does, God has chosen Liberia's president. Is that person who's going to win?
All right, Alphonso,
Joe,
one
it may
question,
not be Joe.
so I can open the line quickly.
Yeah, if I may ask you real quickly, sir, you did say that one of the primary problems in Liberia is corruption, and part of your prescription is that whoever becomes president should audit previous administrations. They can even go as far back as they want to go, 2, 3, 4 administrations. You are here tonight endorsing Ambassador Boakai. Is he committed to? Do you believe, or has he said that he's committed to fighting corruption and following your prescription of auditing previous administrations, going as far back even as though as you suggested.
It will surprise you to notice when he was here in Minnesota. I'm in Minnesota. I never met with him because I didn't want my decision to be conditional upon anything. If he does it, we'll support him. If he doesn't do it, the honeymoon will be shut. Because governments after governments cannot be making the same mistake. People come and steal, literally steal, bold-faced stealing, and say to the Liberian people, I'm taking your money. What can you do about it? You get paper over that and move on. It's bad governance. If those bad governance, just how on my own volition I sat on your platform here tonight to declare support for him, I will get on another platform and condemn him. And we know each other well. I'm not afraid to speak truth to power.
Okay.
All right, the line's open now. For those of you who have some burning questions, you can go ahead, call 404-272-2808, 404-272-2808 to speak with the Honorable Maurice Dukuly. He's here. Great
The Honorable
conversation.
can't like it, man. You call me Mr. Dukuly.
Okay, Mr. Listen, we talked
Yeah.
about it the other day. We said Liberia and
Mr.
the
Dukuly.
honorifics.
Yeah,
And
but Mr. Dukuly, you earned it though.
and I know other honorable then we're talking about real honorable.
No, but I don't like
Yeah.
it.
All right, so the line open. Go
I
ahead.
know, but I don't. It makes
Call.
everybody to.
Be a friend of you.
So let's come back to you before a caller calls. You mentioned working for Ellen's government. We and you said at some point that some of the guys came to her government with nothing and they left with everything. If somebody's called Mr. Dukuly's name now and say, Mr. Dukuly, but you were in that same government, what do you say? Did you leave with plenty of things, or you were one of those people who can beat your chest like Joe Boyka beats his chest, like Tiawon Gonglo came on our show and beat his chest because he served as labor minister. He served in different capacity and he beat his chest. Can you do the same, sir?
Yes, I can beat my chest because the only thing I had before I went to Ellen's government after I returned was my compound in Todmanburg, and I was a UN consultant. I had gone to Bapolo to do a workshop. On our return, we got into Todman, but there was no food. There was no place to eat. So I had built a house there. My wife and I had built a house prior to the war. So I expanded it. I added 6 rooms just to be a guest house. I have that. Plus my residence in Congo Town and a farm I did in Todi, rubber and oil palm farm. So people can search everywhere now.
Okay. Thank you. So guys, the line is open. You're sitting there, you're not calling now.
I asked myself when I left, 1 minute please. When I left Internal Affairs the last time, I asked to be audited.
Okay. That's good.
I
Again,
asked to
the
be
line
audited.
open.
And when I say they should audit Ellen government, I'm not saying exclude me.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm part of that government. I'll be
Let me
audited.
take this caller, sir. Let me take this caller. The caller from Virginia, 4746 571. Welcome to the issues room. Your name?
Hello.
Yeah. Your name? Hello?
Hello.
Wait a minute. You're talking too low. Go ahead. Hello. Your name? Okay.
He's gonna call back.
I'm not sure why he's not.
But look, okay, while waiting for the voter, for the caller to call in, Mr. Dukuly, Help us look up to this Liberia. In recent times, the United States government imposed sanctions on three officials of the
Moses, the caller is
administration.
calling.
Yeah,
Let me just take him quick. I'll just use
sure. Yeah,
the old
in recent.
broadcasting style.
Yeah.
Caller, welcome. Can you hear me?
Hey, Volcano. This is Johnson from Virginia. Hans Johnson. Sorry
Okay,
for the previous
okay.
mistake.
Just hold 1 second. Let me put this caller in queue. The caller calling from Iowa, 3174. Please wait. I'll come back to you, 3174. I'll come back to you. Please wait. Let me take the caller back from Virginia. Caller from Virginia, you said Mr. Johnson is your name?
Yeah, Heinz.
Okay, go ahead. Oh, Heinz Johnson. How you doing, my brother?
Volcano, how you doing, brother? I appreciate it.
Good,
Thanks
good.
for having me on your show. Good evening, everybody. And hi, Minister Dukuly. How are you, sir? Um, my concern, basically, not really a
Hi, how
question.
you doing?
I'm a minister from back in the days, from the old days. And my concern basically is like all the shows I go and participate in, I'm voicing my opinion on national security. Um, election is in about a few months, about 2 months to go, and we have still not seen or heard any national security issues being raised, especially with the situation going around the various West African region. And America being one of our strong allies and watching us been putting sanctions and stuff on certain people based on economic issues, we should also take a look into where some of those things are considered strong effects to your national security. When I went to Liberia, I met with, if you don't mind, I can drop this in real quick. I met with the inspector. We had elected that I'm a police officer myself, and we talk about security and police for the upcoming elections. And to my utmost surprise, I'm gonna say this: that up to that time, February, when I was in Liberia, the Liberian National Police was still short 500 to 1,000 men trained for the upcoming elections. I don't know from that time till now if anything has been processed yet, but we don't see no joint security national staff. I mean, those are things to be publicly
Mhm.
announced. It shouldn't be secret. So I'm very concerned about the security for that. I know nothing. Trust me, nothing gonna happen
So is this a
in Liberia.
statement you're making quick before, because I have another
Yeah, yeah,
caller?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for this opportunity and time. And maybe the minister, being former state minister, when Madam was there, they had meetings and stuff for these issues. So you can elaborate a little bit and
Okay.
tell me if I'm wrong on my fault. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Heinz.
Thank you.
We go to the next caller quick. The caller from Iowa, 30, 3174. Your name?
Yes, good evening, guys. My name is D.C. Wilson. I call from Des Moines, Iowa.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah,
Say.
thank you. I have two questions. Mr. Dukuly, I remember vividly you, the late Alaji
Yes.
Kumar, Maurice Dukuly, were very close around Samuel Doe. Will you please tell us what really happened and led to the downfall of Samuel Doe? And the second question, I come from a security background. I can tell you exactly why Madame Salif is holding on and always want to handpick people. The Farmington Hotel is owned by Madame Salif and her kids. The Royal Hotel is owned by Madame Salif and her kids. For sure, what I know. So, do you share the same view with us too? Thank you.
Okay. So quickly to reiterate the security situation in the country. You were able to pick up on those questions, sir? Are you
Sure,
good?
You
national
want me to answer now?
security.
Yeah, yeah. If you were able to
Yeah,
pick up.
sure.
All right.
I served with Ms. Saleh, but I was not part of her personal staff to know her investment interests or to participate in her investment interests. So I will not speak to the issues you raised. Everybody hears various social media platforms articulate such issues. Now, about Samuel Doe, every president makes the same mistake. And did a book uh, on Doe. And that mistake is that when you allow your ethnic people to have greater sway over you, when they do things, you are not able to deal with it. They give you bad advice, you follow it. When professionals give you advice, they come and undermine the advice, and you listen to them because you speak the same dialect, or you eat the same food, or you play the same game. It can lead to the downfall of a leader. Doe was our friend, but our friendship had limit. I would never disclaim. I went to Grand Jita, the whole Doe clan knows me. And when I arrived there, the sister was crying like, yeah, I seen her dead brother come back to life. That's the relationship we had. But there were many people, not out of ill will, because of the lack of experience and maybe limited education. They never understood the interplay of different situations. And so he listened to some of them. Those should not have died. I can say that because I was part of an effort. I'm not going to give any more detail than this. Part of an effort to get Doe out of Liberia. To extend our plane was delivered, he refused to leave. It was a combination of principle. Principle was that he would never turn over to Charles Taylor. But your life and the leadership, which one is more important? So that's all I can say about that.
And then the last part from
And
the
you left
caller.
out one. Your not just Alaji Broma and Morris Dukuly was Emmanuel Buya as well.
Okay.
And then the last thing the caller said that you were in Mother Ellen Sirleaf government, and for instance, you were a two-term government. When you were going to this next term, the last term of the Sirleaf government, what was the security conversation concerning the second elections that Ellen won? What preparation? How involved were security apparatuses? In making sure that the peace was secured, as compared to now, it doesn't seem as anything is happening. Caller, please hold. I'll come to you. Go ahead, sir.
Ellen has strong leadership in the security. Ellen has strong leadership in the security. The Minister of Defense, Brian Samuka, and others, they provided strong leadership. There was also a National Security
Hold on, I'll come to you.
Council on which I and others sat. Right now, but even with that, with Ellen, there were areas of Liberia that did not even have the presence of police officer. And many times when I traveled as Minister of Internal Affairs, I came and reported back to the police I needed to assign. One time I went to Grand Crew. There were only 4 police officers in the entire county. I went to other places where there were no vehicle for the police. Maybe you had 1 or 2 police officers with batons. No vehicles for them.
I will come to you, sir. Please let me
But
take these 2 callers.
notwithstanding that, when it came to
Can
national
you hear me?
security,
Can you hear me? Let me just take these 2 callers, add them to the queue quick. Hold on,
Okay.
hold on, miss. Yeah, hold on. The caller called from 5020-302. Caller, tell us your name, caller.
Yes, my name is Prince. I'm calling from Dover, Delaware.
All right, you're on with the minister. Go ahead, former minister.
Yes, I do have 3 questions for him. The first one is did the WIA administration ever contacted him to work in the government?
Okay, that's one. What's the second one? Let's go first. Yeah.
Secondly, he endorsed and broadcast. Is it because that is in law? And lastly, Joseph Walker as vice president for 12 years, honor former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. The former minister said Joseph Walker is not corrupt. Can he give her any record of Joseph Walker at the group of 77? Because that's one of the major functions of the vice president of Liberia.
Thank you. All right. So that's 3 questions. Let me take this next caller quick. The caller from 1969, 617. Your name?
Emmanuel Jackson.
Oh, Emmanuel. Welcome, sir. How you doing?
I'm good.
Good. Good. Honorable Dukuly, he's about to ask a question, or you want to jot down those 3? You good? Can he go ahead and talk? All right, go ahead, Emmanuel.
Yeah, let him go ahead.
Yes, sir. Honorable Dukuly. Hi, Honorable Dukuly. How's everything? Hello?
He's listening. Go ahead.
Yes.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm watching like here from the Tala era.
How are you?
My family have been in government. You know General Jackson, who was written in Kipma. And what is coming very disturbing?
General Jackson, where?
Is
from Cape
Mount. The Western Cluster. Yeah.
No, I didn't get it. I didn't get it initial part.
Hold on. Emmanuel, hold on.
Yeah.
He said his father was
Would
General
you please start the question over? I only heard
let him restate his
Jackson
question
or something like that.
Yeah.
All right. He was just trying to lay the foundation for acquaintance. He said you may have known his father, General Jackson, from Cape Mount.
Oh, very well.
So, yeah, so that's why. But now, here's the question.
From bombing. He was even a bombing.
The question is, I mean, we are losing our natural resources in Western Liberia with no development at all. I was listening to a program from BBC, for example, in Papa District, they only have like 2 police officers. And we are extracting almost about 600,000 tons of gold from B Mountain, shipped to Turkey, with no development in Cape Mount. And we have the Western Cluster back in Bomi County. And you know, as we lost all the resources in NIOC, and then we had that mudslide that killed almost 400 Liberians. What are we doing? I mean, what kind of government will we get to start the harnessing a system where our resources can develop our country? I live here in Massachusetts, and when you see the amount of automotive development that Liberian rubber and Liberian steel have created in this part of the Eastern Coast Belt, I mean, it's frightful. And this is the meeting we need to stop exporting our resources without any development to the country. I know Abu Bakr will address this issue. It's very serious because we are telling our young people to go to school, get education, they get out, and there's no jobs. How are we going to turn this thing around where Liberia can stop just exporting their natural resources and do something about developing the very areas where these resources are coming from? Look at Cape Mount. Cape Mount was noted as the country for education. The educational system has deteriorated to the lowest. St. John's and Bethany have been closed for years, which were producing good high school students going to LU and to Cottington University. How can we stop this trend, Dukuly? That's my question.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Let me address the issue of Western Cluster. And you're right. Western Cluster, the citizens of Bombing should blame Ellen Johnson Sirleaf for Western Cluster. I want you to listen to me carefully. Because I, as Minister of Internal Affairs, hailing from Bombing County, and before me, Ambula Johnson, the late Ambula Johnson was also Minister of Internal Affairs. The same system that is now being used by this so-called Western Cluster, because I'm not sure it's the same Western Cluster, which was to carry the ore, truck the ore from the mines to the free port. We pleaded with Mr. Salif, myself, and one day the then Minister of Public Works, I won't call her name, the only female minister prior to this one, Honor Ellen Salif, and I had a healthy argument before the president. The president started with her because the company had proposed all kinds of conditions were made that were difficult. One was that the company had to build its own port, inline port, to be able to carry the ore to town. The company did not object to it. The old Western cluster, I'm not talking about this Western cluster. They said in the interim, permit us to use trucks to take the ore so that we can begin to sell that. Ambula, may peace be to his soul, and I argue in support of that. The Minister of Public Works, who didn't come from Bombay County, who came from one of the settlements, opposed it. And Mr. Salih sided with her. And the reason why I supported the then Western cluster was that the two good bridges on the road now. I don't know whether their current conditions are.
Is that one of the one I felt the other day?
The bridge in Guitan and the bridge in Clay were built by Western cluster upon my request as Minister of Internal Affairs because we were having independence. They promised me they were going to build it, and they built it before the independence celebration. So I thought they would maintain the road. They promised to maintain the road, and they would have done a better road job maintaining the road. They suddenly opposed it, and so at the same time, the price of iron ore slumped, and they decided to back out. That's how come this other Western cluster came, Western cluster number 2. They are not even hired bombing citizens. They are not hired Cape Mount citizens. They are bringing foreigners from Ghana.
This is a travesty.
Okay, the other question was what I'm endorsing Joe because he's my in-law. No, I believe in Joe. I think Joe will do good by Liberia. And I've said without prejudice to the other candidates because I know them. I know Cummings. I know young Dr. Moniba. Tier 1 is a generational peer. I have due respect for his integrity. And I know the president. We're not buddy, I've never been in social gathering with him, but he used to visit me as Minister of Internal Affairs. And so I just think the Liberian people should vote wisely. And I'm calling on Liberians to look at their condition. Look at your current condition. If the state of affairs that we have now will improve your condition, then the decision is yours. I'm not saying vote this way, vote that way. But I know how I will vote. I'll vote for Joe Buckeye.
And the other question
Did I answer the question?
No. And the other question had to do with what do you say about Joe Buckeye record at Group of 77?
People need to understand government. The agency falls on a year doesn't mean you are running it. There was a whole staff at Group of 77. It was under the architecture of the vice president for supervision. It was not like Joe Buckeye went to Group of 77 every day to see how their activities ran. The same way the lotto. Why did put on ask about the lottery, national lottery? It also fell under him, just how it falls under Vice President Joe Howard Taylor. Just how the Group of 77 falls under Vice President Joe Howard Taylor. This is government architecture. It doesn't mean you are responsible for the day-to-day management. If there's corruption there, then the management has to be held. They audit the management and find that they are taking the agency's resources. If they took agency resources, they should be held liable. The vice president was president of the Senate. I hear people say bogus contracts. The vice president doesn't vote. In fact, the vice president is there to preside only when the president pro tempore requires it. But most of the time, that's why they have chairman executive. The system in the legislature is for the chairman executive to preside when the president pro tempore is not there. It's not the vice president. The vice president doesn't vote. He doesn't participate in budget because his budget is independent of the Senate. I hope I have answered that.
All right, let me take this caller quick. The caller calls from Pennsylvania, 267. Last numbers 9865. Your name. Welcome to the Issues Room.
Yeah, how you guys doing? You hear my voice?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, I apologize that I don't know the name of the individuals on your panel. So first of all, my name is Desmond.
What's your name?
My name is Desmond Sharp Jr.
Okay. So our guest tonight is former Minister of State within the Ellen's government, Mr. Maurice Dukuly.
Okay. Mr. Dukuly, my name is Desmond Sharp Jr.
Related to Bill Sharp?
Are you?
My first question. Are you guys hearing me?
He asking if you're related to Bill Sharp.
His Sharp family is a lot, so I don't know. You gotta be very precise.
Okay. Thank you.
Desmond Sharp Senior.
Okay, go ahead.
Desmond Sharp Senior from.
Go ahead. Ask your question. You're good. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Desmond Sharp Jr. I'm gonna ask a few questions because I see people.
Let's do two questions.
Yeah, it's taking so long.
Two questions.
Yeah.
Okay. The first question here is what actually did Toba do to be? Yeah. The first question is what did our late President Toba do for his assassination?
But how does he respond to that?
Leave it, Moses. It's a question. Go ahead. What's the second question? Let's do this quick.
Okay, and the second question is relating to, in connection with the first question relating to Duo. My whole thing here with our election concerning what is the involvement with Liberia and America? Don't we think that America has a serious impact into our environment and our governmental affairs?
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Well, I can. The second question I'm unable to answer because I know nothing about America's involvement in Liberia. So I will not venture into that. And as far as the assassination of President Talbot is concerned, I was a young journalist at the time. It was just unfortunate because President Talbot was a progressive leader. He was ahead of his generation. In fact, that was his problem. One of his tension areas was between the old guard politicians who tell you are moving too fast and wanted to slow him down. So it's unfortunate that Talbot became president at the time when there was the climate of radicalism in Liberia. The University of Liberia was a hotbed of radicalism. You had a time of Dr. Chipote, Professor Sawyer, Dutron Remis, and others. And they were agitating. In fact, it was a time that Dr. Sawyer ran for mayor of Monrovia to challenge the system. So just a historic tragedy. I can speak to why he was. I wasn't at the level. I wasn't in the military. I've never joined the military. So the soldier decided that, they would do what they did, and right after that I left and came to school. So I am not sure I've given you the correct answer of what you expected. I'm sorry if I disappointed you.
Thank you, Moses.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna keep. Hold on. We're gonna keep the.
mhm.
We're gonna keep Mr. Dukuly for the next 14 minutes because we gotta hit it off at 9 o'clock with him. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So Mr. Dugle, tomorrow campaign starts in Liberia. And on the eve of campaign kicking off, today President Weah had a closed door tete-a-tete with senior media executives in Liberia. As a career journalist, a seasoned politician, how do you read into that?
Well, I've been out, but it is not the president who should meet with a journalist. It's the minister of information. Is able release an agenda.
No. And in fact, this was held at
The
his
journalist will
private residence.
that
The meeting was held at his private residence, and it was closed door. It was in public. It was closed door meeting. And for the three of us here as career journalists, do you think media executives should be meeting with the president on the eve of the election? Behind closed door.
well, I'm not going to impute motives to the purpose of the meeting, but I just think that uh, whatever the president's intentions were, that meeting should have been conducted by his minister of information. But he has a responsibility to manage the press. Now the
Yeah.
media has to know that they are being watched. The peace of Liberia is a peace of all. In the media mind, one of the comments of journalists is, "I don't mind your pocketbook." You
Yeah.
know, if they mind their pocketbook and betray the state, uh, that would be unfortunate. But all will bear the consequences. They have to be fair and objective in reporting. Make sure that all sides are presented. Don't disadvantage your opposition. Don't disadvantage the presidency or the current leadership because it is in power. Everybody is entitled to fair treatment. When the president speaks, he's entitled to be heard. When any of the opposition leaders speaks, they too are entitled to be heard. So I will not comment. I will not discuss it any further because I have no information on it.
So let me go back to that question. The guy from Delaware asked. He said, "Has we our government ever reached out to you to give you any position in his government?" That was one of his third questions, or three questions rather.
Uh, you know, um, we say like when the sun doesn't set, the sun can rise. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
If you live on Capitol Hill as I did, every 5 going 6 o'clock, you see the sun go over the ocean. When
Yeah.
the sun doesn't do that, the other sun will not come up. So I have been blessed and privileged. From 1973, recruiter as cadet. Originally, when I joined government, my plan was to retire at age 45. I long past that because of war. But my intent had never been to continue to serve until the big one comes, as Jefferson used to call it. You know, so I
Yeah.
was not expecting to serve in Mr. Weah government because I didn't think it was proper for me to do that. Uh, I cannot actively serve in a government now. Uh, but it doesn't mean I didn't wish them the best. Uh, but that was not the problem. Mr. Weah's problem was that he didn't bring a lot of qualified people. to the government. He didn't monitor his cabinet. He should have monitored them. They should have set agenda. They have proper agenda, but how was the implementation? What's the report? He's a good man. I know him. He's a good man. He doesn't like conflict. And that's how come many of his officers took advantage of him because of his quiet nature. He doesn't talk because that's his nature. And hear people say he doesn't talk. No, but that's his nature as far back as the time of Doe when I knew him. Okay, that's how come he excelled. He wasn't the best footballer in Liberia, you know. James Silencer Diba was better. Not because he was a barrow man like me, but Silencer could play.
Yeah, that's right.
But Weah's attitude made him likable. He doesn't like conflict. And people have taken advantage of that. Plus, he put too many half qualified, unqualified people in the government. They're not monitored. Everybody can learn on the job. There's nothing wrong with putting half qualified, you know.
Mr. Douglas, this is a burning question I want to ask you here. You worked directly with former President Doe, the late, who came from nowhere, didn't even have the kind of exposure that this current president has, considering the world he's been at, the money he's made, the accolades he's achieved prior to becoming president. Doe came from probably not quite a high school graduate to becoming one who could address his country and was confident and was more driven to become a learned person. You worked with Doe. You've seen Weah around. You've seen what he's accomplished. In terms of education, he now has a graduate degree accordingly. But look at the two leaders here. Do you think we are really serious about being a president? And this is an honest question. Do you think he's serious about being a president? Because we talk about people learning on the job. He's been given an opportunity in this day and age where Doe didn't have the computer age, the Google age, the global communication age, where I can sit here right now, Google my phone, and know what's happening anywhere in the world. This president doesn't seem to take advantage of all of this. And, you know, how do you rate the two of them with the desire to learn and mean well for the country?
Well, I will speak to Doe. I will not speak to President Weah because I will look at Doe not just in terms of himself, but in terms of the other young guys who troubled the government with him, the troubled government. Doe had a desire to learn. I'll tell you a personal story. I had traveled out of the country and returned. The Babangida school had just been opened. Doe had brought in Nigerian professors. As soon as I entered his office, he said to me, look over there. There was a stack of books. He had enrolled me in a Babangida school. Although I had a graduate degree, but he wanted the environment so that he could be encouraged to learn. In that school, there was Alaji Kroma, there was Emmanuel Bouye, there was Jonathan Taylor, there was Slanger, and a few others. And so, once in a while, I would be lying and sleeping, and my telephone would ring. Doe would tell my wife I should go to the mansion. I would say, send a car. You would send a car. Go, you'll be here gone on the 5th floor reading. Doe read a lot. And by the final year of the war, Doe knew a lot more than many of his ministers who left school and never read again. Doe's ambition was to leave the presidency, go to graduate school, earn his PhD, and come back to the University of Liberia to be a professor. That's the ambition. He told me that many times. I'm sure he told others. So I'm not going to compare. The challenges are different. When do a president, we didn't have 5 million people in Maria. President Weah has to deal with 5 million people now. If not more. The government was smaller. Every day we didn't find people in the streets agitating. But now they do. So that requires a bit more focused leadership. So the president is paying attention to that. And I'm not in a position to pass judgment on him. But I know that Duke wanted to learn. He had a burning desire to learn, and he learned a lot more than all the PRC members who toppled over with him, and even many of his cabinet ministers. I can speak to that as a fact.
And Mr. Dukuly, people who are critics of Mr. Weir will definitely agree with you that Samuel Doe was, determined to learn. He was in charge. You work with him, you know him better than any of us here. He was in charge. He had constant reshuffle. He monitored, he tracked, he provided a sense of direction for the country. But now you have a very young man, a president, who seems disinterested in terms of what is happening around here. He sends you to the Ministry of Finance. He say, "Hey, you just go ahead and do whatever you got to do. I'm here. I'm indifferent." So does that in any way imply that Liberia under Weah is faced with a leadership deficit?
No, I won't pass judgment. There are different leadership styles, and maybe that's his laissez-faire. He has confidence in his leaders. You have confidence, why should he change? So I'm not going to pass judgment on that. But I think in every situation where you have human beings managing institutions, you ought to monitor them.
Yes.
You ought to require of them reporting of the affairs of the institution they run.
Here's my final question for you. The young people of Liberia are in peril. We talked about the abysmal use of drugs in the country right now. When you were a young man, your future was bright. You look forward to becoming retired at 45, had everything gone well, because you could see on the horizon where your future was and how you were going. It's not the case today in Liberia. We got more than probably 2 million young people, and the statistics are there that talks about Liberia's youthful population is almost 70%. And if you were to look in that almost 70%, uh, probably a stark majority of the young people don't even have a formal education and they've turned to drugs. What do you think going to happen to our country 10 years from now without a good leadership?
Unless two situations in Liberia, unless they are reversed, we are doomed. One is a challenge of redirecting our youth, whatever you call them. They didn't put themselves in the situations they are in. Someone made dangerous drug available to them. They experimented, they got used to it, and they lay by it. It's killing them. The next is agriculture. There is no reason why Liberia cannot feed itself. Once upon a time, Liberia fed itself. Country rice. You know what they call bakery? I don't know what it's old bakery.
Yeah.
That's the market.
Mm-hmm.
The cup of rice is 5 cents. Country rice. The full bag of rice was $8. Unless, and we got the land. We have the land. Unless we invest in agriculture and free ourselves of the dependency on imported rice, we are doomed. Unless we redirect our young people, make them more purposeful in education. Our education is zero because those who are charged with educating our young people, some of them don't even know education. Maybe some of them got fake degrees from here. Okay, not everybody who sits in a university classroom and lecture as a university administrator can be a good minister of education.
Sure.
In my lifetime, you have Othello Gonga. He was a good minister of education. On a duel, I think Ellen brought him back. I don't know what happened between he and Ellen. They clashed and he left. National Education Plan, Othello Gonga did it. Agriculture. Florence Chinamo Dave, may peace be to her soul, did her best. You said group there, working with her. I know so because I did. The group is called ARD. It's a consultancy group of the U.S. government. I work with them. I work with them. And so we have to reverse the realities that we face in these two sectors. Google?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So,
I, yeah,
Moses,
go ahead. Go
out of
ahead.
here though.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah. I think Mr. Dukley,
let's just give.
has
I think he's
yeah,
done with that call. Let you
yeah.
just wrap up so
hmm
we move on.
Yeah, he has said a lot. Yeah,
So
Mr. Dukley, go ahead.
so
We're
yeah,
speaking.
just wrap up, sir, so we can let go of you quick.
Well, you won the championship because for 8 years I have avoided making any appearance, making or interface with any media group.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity.
People call here and they want to interview me. I say no. But Moses is the gentleman, and I know you, Volcano. So
Yeah.
I cherish your relationship, and that is why I
Thank
wanted
you.
to unite you because I wanted to also uh, declare my support for Joe. But I think Moses is a wonderful, wonderful younger brother, and
Yeah. Thank you.
we haven't interacted much, but I know you are as well. So that's why I decided to do this. So thank you so much for the privilege.
You know
I
what?
hope I've not disappointed
I will do
you
this.
or your audience.
I will do this quick. I will do this quick, sir. Somebody just asked the last question. Let me give them the opportunity to say that. Minister Dukley, can you please be specific on the period during which Liberia fed herself and what caused her to be unable to feed herself now? So that was a very important point you made. You
As far as I can recall from the 1960s when I was a little boy, country rice used to be produced in mass.
That's true.
Much later, parboiled rice was imported. Firestone started importing parboiled rice. But what has affected that is that most of our people from the bread basket of the country was Lofa, Bong, and Nima. If you went to these places now, all the young people are in Monrovia. Someone said, uh, Turbo started a policy of this rural road development. When the roads came to town, they followed the roads, and then they went back. But rice was the bag of rice was something like $8 per ball. Then the old bakery was where the chief compound is. If you've been to Liberia in the last 2 decades, that's where the old bakery was. But that was a long, long time ago. Because when you went to the old bakery, you could find they had a type of fish called butternose. You could
I
find
know
three.
butternose good for gravy
Okay.
and pumpkin.
Okay, then you know it. It was cheap, you know.
Yeah.
That's for the fun of it. When I inducted the former mayor of Monrovia, I spoke on the Monrovia I knew. It was a travel on memory lane.
Mm.
What Monrovia used to be like. Monrovia was a place where the cab drivers rested on Sunday.
That's true.
Cab drivers didn't go off on the street. They rested. They clean their cars and get rested. But you go anywhere now, there's a motorbike track. The motorbike had a positive because our country is not connected by roads. It's one of the challenges. Why is it that the Southeast in particular cannot have good roads? Why is it Bombing and Cape Mount, right in the nose of Monrovia, our roads can be finished? Ellen served for 12 years. She did nothing about our roads. It's one of the things I'm disappointed in her, because she promised me, say, Morris, the last thing I'm going to do will be to construct the Swamaka Road. That's where I came from. She never did. In the road to her farm, she left before they put crush rock on it.
Wow.
Cape Mount, when you get to the junction there, into Rouse Foot, that's a short road. It could be built.
Yeah.
Very short road. Very, very short road, sir. I'm not cutting you off. I took that road my last trip in Liberia. My first time going to Ravensport. I was mesmerized. I've never seen so much beauty in Liberia when I went to Ravensport. Just looking at the massive ocean, this massive Lake Piso,
Yeah.
how to join and up that cape up there, where some of the old relics of good historical buildings just sit there in ruin.
Yeah.
I give up. I mean, I literally shed tears. And the road is so short, maybe 15, 20 minutes if it was paved. You'll take more than an hour plus, almost 2 hours on that road because it's so bad. And I'm sitting there asking myself, Ellen led this country for 12 years, and she's from this area. This tourist site, could it be a priority? Here comes another president who is what we call
bad road medicine, and
they still neglect that place. But Cape Mount is a gem for tourism in our country, and it's sad. It's sad that
our problem is not resources. Our problem is the management of the resources, ensure that the people benefit from their resources. We discussed Western Cluster.
Yeah,
we miss opportunities there. You know, and the president came from Liberia. Came from the area when we missed opportunity. You know, Cape Mount. So that is why the people of the Western Liberia should now know that Ellen did not serve their interest. They should vote for Joe Buckeye, because Joe will do better. Joe's wife comes from Jawajet.
I know Jawajet.
You know.
Yeah.
It's a Gola town.
Thank you. We want to thank you so much for joining us here tonight. We will hopefully call you back here at some point. Thanks for coming out of retirement to speak with us. I thought it was great conversation. You kind of enlightened me, particularly for some of the things that I was able to gain insight to here tonight, and I'm sure our viewers. And Moses, thanks for bringing the former minister out of retirement. Because these are the people who are the last remaining knowledge or reservoir of information, put it that way, for our generation. We need to engage them. You know, one of the people who I didn't have the opportunity to engage on that kind of level was Mr. Buya. But just from his testimony at the TRC, I was able to learn a whole lot.
Oh yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so I mean, we've missed even GV. You know,
Yeah.
uh,
GB.
that was another hopeful, reservoir of information that we could have gotten. So one of the things that we've missed, and usually when we want to end this kind of conversation, is it draws the mind to ask another quick question, and this question has to do with where's the history of Liberia now? Emmanuel Buya is gone. He's no more. He went with a lot of great information. Mr. G.V. Kromah, many others, who could have written the history of our country. Because what we have now, this generation, they're not going to leave anything behind 50 years from now. Honestly, how 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 is our country's history going to be remembered, sir? From your perspective, as one who is a maker and contributor to the country's history, how is it going to be remembered? What's the archive here of our history?
Well, I know, and I will 100% certainty. Well, I know that we did a lot of recordings, so some of our history might be captured in that. Um GV uh, did some writing himself, but not extensive. Uh, there are a few elderly people around, alive, like Councillor Henry Cooper. I myself had tried to want to interview these folks to document oral history so that at some point I would sit to write them. I haven't done that yet. I hope you young fellows, it's important to have your history. If
Yeah.
we forget our history, we forget our past, and therefore we run the risk of endangering our future. And that's the problem. When you talk about Monrovia, people don't know how Monrovia used to be like. You know,
Mm.
uh, whether you talk about the Roy building or the Duco, you know, other places. So no, that's a valid point you raised. But that's a challenge as a next generation.
Yeah.
I hope you can capture that, you can seize it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Thank
and Volcano, let me just say, there's Mr. Dukuly. Thank you for coming, for honoring our invitation. It was a pleasure to have you. You share a lot. You educate our people, because hearing from you, as a career public servant, a journalist, it's very insightful. And I hope that our people will make the right decision come October the 10th. Thank you for coming, sir.
Yeah.
thank
Well,
you.
I hope I haven't caused your platform any problem.
No, no, sir.
Listen,
Yeah,
listen, we say here that we have no political ties. You have the right to
Yeah, you have the
endorse
right. It
whoever
could be
you want.
anybody, coming and
yeah,
And we
does.
expect
Yeah.
anyone to come here and do the same, whether endorsing President we are, any of the opposition.
Yeah.
You are our guest and you're protected. But
Yeah.
we're not endorsing any candidate per se. But
yeah.
thank you so much. We'll take leave of you now because we're
Thank you,
our last.
gentlemen. Thank you so much for the invitation. A privilege and an honor.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you,
And so
sir.
you have a blessed weekend.
Okay. You do the same.
You
Yeah.
too. All right, Moses. So quickly, man, let's do memory lane because
Mm.
we gotta get out of here. Memory lane tonight. Written by Dr. Manis Sumo is captioned Chief Swakoko, Battlefront Commander to Peace Negotiator. So he was Battlefront Commander and then he turned Peace Negotiator. On this cool moonlight night, I eagerly took my seat next to Tomawa as she narrated one of her best Kambadis or stories. The Gola history is known as Kambadis, if I got it right. According to Gola oral history or Kambadis, the Gola tribe used to be a matriarchy. Then the women used to rule the societies with their sandy and water garden spirits. The women were kings known as Kandaya. These women rulers were believed to have the mandate of heaven given to them from Daya or God. And so many sandy women of other tribes began to practice after the Gola women to rule, a situation that was gravely challenged by men. One of such female rulers was called Suakoko from the Kwele land, now Bon County in today's Liberia. Suakoko was initially against the expansion of the Republic of Liberia in respect to its 40-mile rule, declaring, or rather declared during the proclamation of the country's independence in 1847. As a chief, she commanded a very strong indigenous army that prevented the Liberian Frontier Force, the LFF, from taking over her chiefdoms and its surroundings. Amongst her fierce fighting force was a female warrior called Sani. Sani later deflected and became the founder of today's Saniquele, the capital city of Nima County. So the name Saniquele came from Sani. One of Swakoko's achievements was stopping or preventing the coastal chief's army from capturing young Pele boys and girls who were sold to Portuguese slave merchants as slaves. As a great leader and after many successful battles against the LFF, she agreed to a peace negotiation and settlement. The central northern parts of Liberia were annexed. As we reflect on the 176 years of Liberia's independence, let our honor, or rather let us honor our founding fathers and mothers. Memory Lane is pleased to salute Chief Suakoko. In Liberia, women are increasingly holding positions of power and leadership, with a female president, female lawmakers, and female ministers. Women are gradually playing prominent roles in Liberian society. Just a half century ago, it was nearly impossible for women to fill these roles. As a politician, diplomat, and healer, she is the reason we have Bong, Nimba, and Lofa counties. A town called Suakoko and a district called Suakoko District in Bong County is named after Chief Suakoko. The Suakoko chiefdom still exists till today in Bong County. And this is a little piece of history here written by Manet Sumo. And he says, I come in peace. Moses?
Great piece. Dr. Smo puts a lot into this memory lane, he puts a lot into the creativity, delving into the history of Liberia. That's a lot of research he's doing. So, as we always do, I think we should just commend him again tonight for the great job that he continues to do for our people. And so, if you really want to know more about Liberia of yesterday, you should, dedicate or devote some time to reading the memory lane. Very insightful. I don't
Thank
know.
you.
What do you think,
It's
Volcano?
time for what type of country is this, Moses? Got only what? Probably 8 minutes.
Yeah, that should be okay.
So we like to encourage you, our viewers, participants, to join us here as we start. What type of country is this?
What type of country is this?
What type of country is this?
Mhm.
On the eve of campaign, the sitting president calls media heads in a closed door meeting at his residence.
Mhm.
What do you think the optics would say, or the pundits would say, and the optics around this? What type of country is this?
Country is this? And the optics is very, very terrible for the media. For for people who consider themselves to be media executives? How do you assemble people on the eve of the general election and you have behind the scene discussion
And at your residence.
at your residence?
So this is not even an opportunity to have the media cover this. This is but man, you can get envelope.
Yeah, but my man, yeah, so you can.
Oh, that'd be easy.
Well, Volcano, the message it sends. For me personally, when I heard that thing today, two things came to my mind. If I were in the position that I had the opportunity of speaking to critical issues, I would have taken a stance on this and urging the media, that you can do this and they must do everything to it, to avoid the neutrality of the media from being compromised. Why do you assemble these people? Why? And the second thing it shows.
Do we know? Do we know if Spoon TV was represented?
Because they already consider the enemy, right?
Yes, Spoon that was a CEO was represented.
Yeah, but man, that's when the people become choices. They may say, "Come to my house," not the executive mansion. So, Volcano, you have the right to decide who goes to your house and who doesn't. Right?
So, Malasuma said, what type of country is this when the president can be the first to give the press cadeau? The sitting president.
On the eve, dropped today was easy,
of the campaign. On the eve of the campaign. What type of
whatever country is this? Cattle dropping all over the place, my man.
What type of country is this? From a living stone that the media in Liberia is being compromised.
Yes.
Because even if that's not the case, just the fact that you call media heads
on the eve
of the campaign in your private space, it just tells the opposition, it tells the international community, something is not right here.
Something is not right.
You didn't do all of this for years.
Now what talk to the people?
Yeah. For years, you don't even call press conferences and say, I won't tell you something. You don't even bother. But on the eve,
you gotta go to your house.
The president making too many open mistakes, man.
Too many mistakes, my man.
What country is this where the government loses the future of the country before its beneficiaries are born?
Yeah.
And I think he's talking about some of these concession deals that's being passed, and they're just taking our resources.
Yeah, they're just doing anything, my man.
Communities and leaving these people in absolute degradation, absolute poverty, without providing any kind of social corporate responsibilities to these communities, and giving back to the young people who are even from those communities who have tried to go to school to learn something, to be able to come and have a decent job. No, this is not happening. What type of country is this? CDC is an octopus fighting on all fronts to win an election, from getting fake voting cards to having multiple people registered to now giving envelopes to the media.
Absolutely.
What type of country is this, Shaggy McCaffrey?
Absolutely. I agree with Shaggy, and that's what happened today just shows what desperation.
So hold on here. John Carl Harris. What type of country is this when the president of Liberia is so engaging and embraceable with the media? Okay? When the media pundits are wrongly assigning wrong meanings to the president's hospitableness. What type of country is this?
Yeah. Volcano, sometimes I sympathize with you, with our man John.
But John,
is there any word called hospital? I know there's a word called hospitality.
Yeah, hospital.
Yeah, being hospitable. Yeah, but there's no word called hospitableness.
It's
And
good.
you know,
Was it? Don't try.
so
John,
so
John
John,
busted it. Don't worry about that
yeah,
one.
yeah, so
So now you can just put too much BBT in the basket.
yeah,
So
John just throw words all over the place. And anyway,
I
he
don't
comes from the sycamore tree. Yeah. When you go there at that party headquarters, you come up with all these fake words. But what we want to tell John is that I think what happened today, it just signal what desperation, John. There's a serious desperation on the part of the ruling administration. Volcano, when you are doing well on your job and your supervisor say tomorrow come in for your performance evaluation, you don't panic, right, Volcano? Because you're meeting expectations. You're there on time. You're doing what is expected of you. So when they say, tomorrow is your evaluation, you don't panic. But the man with panic is the man who goes to work late every day. He doesn't know what is expected of him. And that's what we have happening in Liberia.
what type of country is this? Private company investing $50 million for diagnosis car service, diagnostics car service to issue inspection stickers, licenses. But CDC hijacked the license section, gave to John Ubote. Now the company wants to leave.
Oh,
What
wow.
type of country is this?
So let me
What type
understand that.
This is we're just moving now. What
Yeah.
type of country is this? On which grounds the president claims to be the best since 1847? What is he doing?
In 5 years, Thomas Awaji.
So
Thomas said the CDC people there should come.
169. Okay, 169 was just mess.
Yeah.
5 years of we are almost 6 is the best.
Yeah.
Manisumo, what type of country is this when a multi-million-dollar company like Western Cluster Head
Office in
Bombay County is a container? What type of country is this?
I think that the mobile home.
What type of country is this where not a single foreign investor is in the country? Well, the people there, but they in container, so we don't even know.
But Volcano, the thing about it is that how are the people going to come when we're asking the people to bring brown envelopes?
What type of country is this, colleague Pato, where government has become agency of president instead of the state?
Yeah. What type of country is this?
What type of country is this? John Carl Harris says here, what type of country is this that Moses said he doesn't know the meaning of hospitableness?
Okay, John, we got you. You're great on that.
What type of country is this where the doctors put you on drips for a toothache? What type of country is this?
Yeah, my man.
You on drip?
I got to even medicine, man. I put him on drip. That John Carla, bro.
Hey, my man, John God. John God, don't worry, we'll bring you, man. We got you. We want to make sure when we bring you, it will be the right time.
Yeah, Joe is a friend of the issue room. He can't come. This sitting here is very hard for Volcano.
What type of country is this?
Yeah.
What type of country is this? That the country is almost not a country anymore. What type of country is this?
What type of country is this that
anymore?
Yeah. What type of country is this, Volcano? That the people are going for election and people are praying every day that if we repeat this mistake, our future will be doomed. What type of country is this? Every day people going to church, they're going to the mosque, they pray, hey God, you have to get us out of this thing here. You heard the honorable when he spoke. When he spoke, you can tell that everybody, the man in fact said that, look, God has already chosen a leader. Volcano, what type of country is this?
But what type of country is this that will go to election?
Yeah.
On October 10th, and we say this is the most important election since 176 years. What type of country is this?
What type of country is this?
176 years. This is the most important.
The most important. Yeah. Everybody says that.
This is
Everybody says that. They said this is, you know what, do or die. What type of country is this?
Can you imagine that? For 176 years?
Yeah.
This
Do
is
or
the
die
most significant elections in the country's history.
in the country history.
What type of country is this?
This is our volcano. What type of country is it? I mean, isn't that scary volcano?
Yeah. What type of country is this, Shaggy McAfee? That the Zogos population have tripled under the government or this government.
Yeah.
People like John Carr, they're talking about we are government is good. Are you serious, John? But then again, you are not living in Liberia, so you got the right to say that because you took it today. You took it today, John. So you got the right to be talking like that. But what type of country is Nicholas Pay, or Payne rather, when the official spokesman of the government, Kev Hassan, who has a fake nursing credential and live in the US.
In the USA, yeah.
Yeah.
What type of country is this?
What type of country is this? Kolik Bator, when police pockets revenue from violators instead of putting it in the government coffers. So you meet a man driving, man park, then you take one someone to get to the government, you give me the man ticket, then the man go pay, so you go in the go, you take the money and put it in your pocket.
But my man, forget it. I think let's be fair to our brothers who are in the rain and the sun. The man doesn't have uniform. The man has no how you call it utility vehicle. How do you call it? What? Patrol, right? Patrol car. And that man is hustling. Even the motorbike, he doesn't have money to get on. And they get a man $50. You say, Makeda government.
What type of country is this? Thomas Awaji, where the small citizens say everything is okay, but begging for $5 every day to buy food to eat. Yeah, they don't want to say everything okay, but they say people rest.
And now John Harris is one of those.
Harris, what type of country is this? That the people are praying for the continuity of Weah's presidency for more than 2 terms, even though the presidency is just 2 terms. Look at that.
Oh yeah,
yeah. The person a lifetime. John Carr is right.
You know, John lives in utopia. You know,
Livingston. What type of country is this? That the religious people are now campaigning for president.
and Volcano, that's something that is very important for us to really talk about. Can you imagine people that we look up to as what the conscience of society campaigning for Nathaniel McGill? They call themselves church leaders. They call themselves church leaders. They're campaigning for George Weah. Hey, man. How do you do this, Volcano? What type of country is this? Your country is sinking. And you are running campaign for people that are taking the country down to the ground?
But that's what I'm saying. This is the reason why after 176 years, this election is the most significant.
Yes, the most significant.
When you have religious leaders being compromised, when you have the media being compromised, civil society, all of the institutions that are supposed to be neutral on behalf of the citizens and the country are all compromised.
The legislature compromised.
The judiciary
compromised.
The
elections commission compromised.
The police who should be the people wearing regalia.
Yeah.
Okay. Wearing partisans regalia.
Yeah, of the CDC. And these people supposed to be neutral, right?
The marketing association
compromised.
Every country is
how you call it? The Transport Union of Liberia compromised.
Paper boys
compromised. Church leaders compromised.
Ghana boys
compromised.
We Bar Union
compromised.
Water seller
compromised.
Mami Pepe Kala
compromised.
I mean, we eat serious mess, man. We eat serious mess. Oh man, John
Within
Carr
of your
said,
man,
let do the thing. They come here.
well,
John Carr Harris said we have a win hands down. You guys will cry blood. I mean, I will be on the ground, so I won't be there. And listen, I told you, John, and I tell people, I don't care who become president. It doesn't change anything for me per se. It doesn't. And why I say it doesn't change anything for me,
you will still pay your
because
bills.
unfortunately I cannot vote. So my
Yeah.
vote doesn't matter. This is the best I can do.
Educate.
This is the best I can do. My vote doesn't matter. I can't vote. So
But you educating, you
we in the
educating, you
diaspora,
educating. Yeah.
I didn't have the opportunity to be in Liberia to register to vote. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's unfortunate. My man said the media compromised.
Man,
Then
but-
we Shaggy McCaffrey said hashtag whatever country is this that doesn't separate the church from the state.
I tell
But then
you,
again, if no one has money and they're hoping for brown
Brian
envelope,
Miller,
they are willing to compromise their integrity and the integrity of the institution.
yes.
Real issue says, what type of country is this when old men like Maurice Dukuly, with no new ideas, still telling young people to vote for a 90-year-old man who also doesn't have any fresh ideas? I hope the old folks are watching what is going on in West Africa. Wow.
And let me just come to the
So let me
defense
finish.
of
I'm getting silly.
Hmm.
What type of country is this when police woman gets angry because all of your car documents are correct? So
My man, no one for the officer to do anything, my man.
no way, officer can eat, my man.
He said, my man, what's your driver license? He said, yeah. What's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
insurance card? Yes, my
Yeah,
insurance.
Where
Man, you go, man.
yeah. So all the men documents are correct. The woman got back. So, but why all your documents correct? Man?
Oh, yeah.
But then at the end of the day, she said, "Okay, just for the officer small thing, that being all day. Let me get my man back. Yeah, now,
Is that how you will lead your sister?
yeah. So my man is saying,
John Carr, compromise.
we'll come out.
Yeah, John Carr is compromised.
Let me get the last one. Nicholas P. What type of country is this? The government prints billions of dollars and fail to inject it into the economy. Instead, they are using the money to buy votes. What type of country is this?
What country is that?
What type of
And that's
country
a
is
very
this?
important one,
What type
Volcano.
of country is this? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that's the same thing.
Yeah.
Global Livingston, what type of country is this? The religious group, media group, and others who cry that this CDC government is worse are now praising the same government to be good because of small money. But let's come back to the compromise thing.
Yeah.
So, John Carr Harris, compromise.
John Carr
As-
come after
John
us.
Carr will compromise.
Bishop Asa Winker.
Compromise. The
The
Marketing Association president. Compromise.
younger boys are compromised.
Compromise.
Pregnant boys
Compromise. The media compromised.
Hold on. Chief Zanzakawa.
Compromise.
Oh God.
The chief Zo compromise. The medical doctors compromise.
Yeah, because the man telling you the Magay drip for 2-8.
Yeah, man, you can't do it, man. You got to explain it, man. Talking about, he said, but man, you brought your own graph?
How about LRA? Like Revenue Authority.
Compromise.
When they say they hear
The
comedian
commissioner general, yeah. They can't tell the people how much you raise. He said, Robert, I don't want to lie to you. Really?
that's being compromised.
Compromise. I love that job we have in Australia is a joke, my man.
The Senate Confirmation Committee
Compromise.
compromised. Because man, just putting anything in front of them. Okay, my man, you go. Milton
What?
Tietie, Milton
Compromise.
compromised.
The main compromise, man.
The man look at job 20 hours. He said, but the man got all the credit
He
hour.
said, my man, he said, oh my man, you in fact you did what you did better than some people
Yeah.
who had degrees here.
Yeah, he said you did more than the
You
credit
get
hour
more,
required.
you get more credit.
He
Now
said
that
you're
credit
highly
hour.
qualified, my brother. Oh, Jesus, my
Shaggy
man.
McAfee, that the police commission gets paid on every
Every
on
month.
time every month, but the
Okay.
police, oh, he meant to say the police commissioner gets paid,
Okay.
yeah, on time every month, but the
Yeah, man.
police officer on the ground who are actually doing the job, I ain't getting
I
paid.
ain't getting paid, but how do they do that?
My man said, Lord Levinson said the whole CDC government compromised. Oh God.
Oh, Lord, Larry student get lost. My man.
Man,
Yeah.
this is a serious stuff as we wrap up now. 32 minutes.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, your perspective quickly as we wrap up. Campaign starts tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let's start with Alfonso saying he will go on a little bit. Let's do this in a minute or so because we gotta leave here at 9:45.
Mhm.
Campaign starts tomorrow. What do you say to the Liberian people, to oppositions, Alfonso, to civil society, to the international community? What do you say to the young people who don't even understand what campaign is? They're gonna be out there with on pen running all over the place tomorrow. You will see palm branches. They will just be going helter skelter. What do you say, Alfonso?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think Honorable Morris Dukuly put it right when he said that the elections, this year's elections, are very critical, very consequential, very important. These elections will determine the direction of our country. We came out of war. We had the first election, then we had the second election that brought in Mr. Weir. The direction of the country since has really changed. We're heading downwards at very high speed, and brakes need to be put on. And the country really, I don't want to use the word they're using around here, uh, so that I'm not. They don't think that I'm joining one party, but the country needs direction. The country needs leadership. And so these elections are very important, and people need to not sell their votes, because when you sell your votes, you're selling your future. You're selling the future of your children. When your relatives die because there's no medicine in the hospital, that's not because there's a will of God. It's because of corrupt politicians. So vote right, think critically, and vote for the future of the country.
Yeah. I would just like to add on to what Alfonso said that this election, come October the 10th, will either make or break Liberia. Ask yourself, almost 6 years ago, what you had, did Samuel Tour ever visit you? The CDC executives ever attend to the needs of your hospitals? Did they provide employment opportunities? Did they attend to the needs of the quote unquote Zogos or uh, uh, the youthful population of Liberia? Did they give you bosses that they are giving you now? Did they give you motorbikes that they are giving you now? Ask yourself these questions. This is about your future. My people, take the money, eat the money, and walk away. Do not allow any desperation to affect or to dampen the future of your country. This is about Liberia. It's not against anybody. We're not against nobody. We're not against the ruling party. We're not for anybody. We're just telling you, think Liberia. Everybody says it. You heard it from Mr. Dukuly. This election is critical. You got to make that decision. Don't be carried away by chicken change. Hey, man. Media executives? Wow. I'm disappointed. You hold tete-a-tete at this time on the eve of kicking off political campaign in Liberia. You go hold tete-a-tete behind closed door with Mr. Weir? Wow. This is shameful. It's embarrassing. Embarrassing.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Moses.
Mhm.
From my end, I just say, listen, tomorrow, let's do this peacefully, civilly. Let's campaign, use our strength, be able to communicate well to the people, those who can listen to the simple English, speak it to them. My concern would be for security. I will ask the police, I will ask those security institutions in the country to be for all and not for one. Because if you show biasness, if you segregate, there's a potential that things could go wrong. So please, please, please protect everyone in the personal space as the campaign, protect the politicians, protect the opposition, protect the government, protect all of the people who go on the campaign, and let us do it in an accord, respectfully, peacefully. Make sure that everyone has the fair share. This is the rights. They can decide who they want to. Tonight, I can decide to say tomorrow I will go for Weir. I can go for whoever, and I walk away from the platform, or I can make my declaration that I'm speaking on behalf of myself. It's my right. So no one should question anybody's position. John Carr, the CDC is your right, and even though we joke about it, but it's your right. However, to say the truth, again, as I said, let us do it with the security forces protecting every citizen. That the international community should also show neutrality and observe. This is the time now for those elections observers to be on the grounds to see how this campaign will go and who will maintain the peace agreement that is signed when the the ambassador said, "Hey guys, you need to protect your signatures to
Yeah.
that agreement." This is the time now that McCarthy's voice should be heard. That
Yeah.
campaign has a propensity to cause serious, serious, serious mayhem in the country.
Absolutely.
And I will hope that the security system, the governing body, will make sure that everyone has a fair share. That's my position. Thank you, everyone, for being there with us tonight. We want to say good night. We'll be back here Tuesday, God's willing. Alfonso, Moses, I thought it
Yeah.
was good that we had
Yes.
for Dukuly here with us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Great
you.
show.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy.
Good night, everyone.
Mhm.